Hello my darlings, welcome back. We are now at part 3 of this series. We're working on an Amazon envelope journal, and so far we made the cover, the inside of the cover, using a thick Amazon envelope, and we'll be attaching our fabric cover to that today. And we've also made the inside guts of the journal itself out of throwaway return envelopes, and that we've glued together along with a couple of sheets of cardstock. And we'll be dealing with those in the upcoming videos. But today we're going to deal with finishing up most of the basics of the cover itself. Want to just remind you, I have an Etsy shop that has digi kits that are available to anyone if you want to visit there. If you're in need of resources of that sort of thing, I've got a lot of things to choose from. And also there are links always in the description box to other products or tools that I'll use in a video, and where you can access those if interested. So now here, to bring you up to date, we printed this part of the design onto fabric, and then we've taken bits of fabric and sewed around the perimeter, because we're going to be using this to cover the front of our Amazon envelope. This is the envelope that we're using, and it was larger than an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, so we're having to increase the size of our fabric cover with these great little pieces of coordinating fabric. So I've basted all that on in place. I've decided not to sew around the perimeter with my sewing machine, because that winds up making it start to appear like it's factory made, and I don't want that. I want it to be completely a homemade look. It's not perfect. Doesn't have to be perfect. I prefer that it not be perfect, because that's sort of what goes with something that's handmade. It's unique and wonderful, and oftentimes mistakes are made, or it's just the inconsistency that's part of making something by hand. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to glue the fabric. I'll take it 1/2 at a time, and I'm using this Fabrifix glue that's great for fabric to fabric or fabric to paper. And so it is somewhat forgiving in that it is repositionable for a very short time after you've glued something down. So it's a little forgiving that way, but once it's down to stay. And so I like that aspect of it. It's a little bit cumbersome to put on, because it's kind of a slow moving glue, but I did not want to use the spray adhesive that I bought for when I was printing the fabric, because it is a removable adhesive, and once this is down, I don't want it to move. So we're laying some of this in here, and then I think maybe just to help it along, I might take some my glue stick here and run a little of this down this middle section also to help get a good grip there. So we'll try it out and see how it goes. I don't know how good this is all going to adhere, and if it just isn't going to work, I may have to use the sewing machine around it regardless, but we'll try first. Doing it this way. Now I'll have to come in with the glue and use the glue to hold together where one fabric ends and another begins, because I've not sewn those down. I'm not happy with how my glue's coming out. These end pieces are going to overlap onto the inside, so that's also going to help hold them in place. Oh, it just dawned on me, I'm on the side now that I haven't glued at all in the center. So we'll have to take care of that real quick. I may stop filming and go on and do this finish this up off camera. This is very tedious and time consuming. Yeah, I think I'll do that. So I'll be back when I've got it all glued down and we're ready to move on to the next step. See you in a few minutes. Okay, I'm back. I have finished gluing the front section down, and I went and made sure all the little pieces going this way are nicely glued down, and I've been working on the back. I've pulled the fabrics over onto the back side and I'm gluing those down, and I have this one last section to do, so I thought I would now turn the camera on and you could see me finishing off this back side, and then I'll show you what we're going to do next to make it all come together. I do have to decide on, I guess I better put my timer on. I do have to decide on what I'm going to use for the inside back. That's going to be paper. But I'm not quite sure yet what I'll use, because it has to be a bigger, if it's not fabric, it has to be a bigger sheet of paper, because this envelope is probably about 9 by 10 or so. So I'll have to use maybe some 12 by 12 cardstock, scrapbook paper, or some wrapping paper, or something I splice together. Okay, I now have the back done, and so you can see what the front cover is essentially going to look like. And it's going to need some sort of a strong focal point that will drop right in there. What that'll be, I don't know at this point, but I will decide on that as I get further into it. I don't know if I will find a focal point in fabric that's strong enough to carry the cover. If not, we'll use paper probably adhered to cardstock. Let's see, how do I want that to go? So you have to go around and do a little touch up here and there to make sure everything is sealed down. Now what I'm thinking at this point, I had some off-white lace that my sister had given me that would look nice, you know, at if I did something like that and then wrap that around to the inside after I cover the main field. That's one idea. And then I found something else that she had sent me. This is lace that is attached to what's that called? It's a hemming. Is it sellage? I don't know. I forget. Was never really big into the sewing arena. That was her department. But I thought this could work. I could glue that on so that covers the edges of the back, and then the front has this lace going around. I really like that. I you know, this is nice, but I think it would be a little more difficult to get it to look good. And this is a good way to use something like this that, looking at it, I didn't even know I had it. That's the kind of impression it made on me, but it looks like it probably will be a perfect addition to finishing off the edges, since I won't be sewing around the perimeter. And I would like something that makes it look really finished off nicely. So we'll probably do that. So here we are again, Miss Darling. I have to admit, I was gone a lot longer than I anticipated. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you straight out. The reason is because I was very unhappy with the way things were going. It just wasn't my cup of tea. So I spent several hours yesterday trying to solve the problem that was bothering me, and the more I worked on it, the worse it got. And so then I gave up on it and decided to go away and come back and look at it with fresh eyes later. I looked at it last night. I just decided, you know what? Here's what was bothering me. So if you look at this, at the time, there was no color border coming down the middle. So it would have been maybe worked out okay if this was not ultimately going to be folded in half, if it was only going to be seen like this. But it's going to be folded in half, and when you look at it in half, you see that the fabric that was printed on here is just way too far to the left. I had a strong border coming down here and nothing balancing it over here. The same was true over here. You can see that I wasn't paying attention, and I was sewing on the fabrics and covering up my numbers that I had added in here to help balance the overall design. And of course, again, I had the strong colorful border on three sides and nothing coming down here. and it just, everything was out of kilter, nothing was balanced, and it was bugging me crazy, particularly because it's so busy. On top of that, I decided then I needed a strong focal point here on the front cover, and so the strongest color I could get that would really grab attention away from all the busyness and the colors was red. So I added more red into the border to make my red focal point look better. I reprinted the center design that I originally started with, and this time I separated the right side from the left side so that I could position this exactly where I wanted and allow me to have a colorful border going down the middle so that the entire half looked more balanced. So I reprinted that off and tore it so that I would have all ragged edges going all the way around. And I decided to use this big red number 3 to grab attention, so there's no question about where the focal point is, and it's landing right about where I like them to land. I'm positioning this a little above center, as I've said in almost every video. You want to go a little bit above center. You want a little more border at the bottom than you have at the top, so that what your focal point, your center of interest, doesn't feel like it's falling off the page, so to speak. So we always position a little bit above center and give a little more at the bottom. So that's what we're going to be doing with the front. This originally, as you can see here, had the numeral 3 here. Well, I decided on this nice big red 3, but I didn't want 2 3s side by side. So I had to figure out what to do. I got rid of that 3 by positioning this green stamp I tore from some of the other fabric I had printed off so that it all blends in nice. And so now you're not going to see 3 3. And down here, to help balance with the strength of the focal point being up here on the left, I added this butterfly. As you can see, there was no butterfly there before, but now the entire image is being set off by the stronger colorful background, and so it all feels balanced. And even though the center part is much more subdued than the border, I think it still works. And then back here you can see how off that was, and so I reprinted that as well. And so now that's going to be repositioned so it's more to the left. I saved all my precious stamps and numbers over here. I added the monogram here and a little bit of a phrase here because it was just kind of bare and I felt it needed a little bit of lift, but not too much. And so now we have a colorful border going all the way around this one as well, and I can position it right where I want, and again a little above center so we have more at the bottom than at the top. And so I think finally, while it's not perfect, I think I'm finally okay with it. And let me know in the comments how you like it, and if you think it works for you, and if it works better than what we had before. So I'm going to go ahead now and glue this on, and finish it up for this video, and then in part 4 we'll either go ahead with working on the journal that will go inside and start decorating and embellishing those pages, or I may go ahead and do the inside end pages. They're going to have to be on fabric because of the size of the cover, and I will be making it big enough so that it does cover up the fabrics that folded over onto the back. It looks pretty messy as it is right now, but it'll look very good once we get the end papers on. So I'm going to do that, and I think I'm going to just add some glue stick into the middle of this field. I forgot to set my timer, so of course I have no idea. I have no idea when this might be done, so I'm just going to hurry along here and get this all finished up without too much more chatter. If you're not happy with something you're doing, you know, don't give up on it. You may have to set it aside for a day, a week, a month or so, and come back to it with fresh eyes. And it does happen, even to those of us who've been doing it a while. You would think, after all the years I've spent in the arts and design, that, well, I knew this might be a problem, having no border go down the middle, and I don't know why I went ahead, because I knew it was could potentially cause problem, but I was kind of stuck on wanting the fabric to go across the whole thing so that I didn't have to be concerned with having any cut edges or whatever along the spine. But of course, that doesn't mean anything when you wind up terribly unhappy and with what you're doing, and nothing you try solves the problem, and you just got to go all the way back to the basics and kind of start all over, in a sense. I was glad I didn't have to completely start over, but I had to regroup and think it through and figure out how best to resolve the problem I had created. I maybe should have put this glue stick on first. But let's double check. So, since I don't know where I am time-wise on whether this is going to click off, I'm going to pause right now and start a new clip so I don't run out. All right. I will off camera go and reinforce this, but I think I'm pretty happy finally with what I have here. I'm excited about doing the inside, which will be more colorful because we're going to be doing a lot more with paper, and of course it just prints out much stronger. So you see how awful the inside still looks. So in the next video we are going to solve that problem and then get started on the actual journal. So thanks for being with me, sticking with me this far. I hope you'll come back for part 4. Hope you're working on one as well as we go along. And just my final thing is, better to cut it in half and then position what you want right where you want it when you're going to fold something in half. Don't do what I did, because it just winds up being an awful mess that you probably won't be able to solve without just backing all the way up and kind of starting over. So that said, if you like this content, I hope you'll give it a like, give me a comment, tell me what you think so far and what you're doing, ask questions, share it with family and friends, anybody interested in doing DIY projects, and I'd appreciate that. Visit the Etsy shop if you are looking for resources, and I'll hope to see you in part 4. So, this is Miss Darling saying, I'm calling this a wrap. Bye-bye.